buckets. Welcome to week 2 of our senior journey. This is
the game, right?
Yeah, the game. This is a game. This is a week where we sit down and we dissect what's happened within like the past week and a half of basketball. The second round, which was a little bit less exciting than the first one. Kind of like we're boys versus men, especially Spurs and Trailblazers. But you know, more on that later. I think the one thing that we really got to talk about here is, well, I mean, it's really more important. The most important thing that's happened this weekend is the commercials.
Yeah.
The like 7 commercials that are on the Sprint family plans that make me uncomfortable and don't really make me want to buy Sprint. Like that kid his accent. Like I don't want to.
Number one doesn't fit with the woman's who's supposed to be the mother's accent.
Well, no.
Like not even close. And then on top of that, she has like a daughter from like Germany who speaks fluent German.
French.
No, it wasn't French.
It definitely was French.
Okay, fine. Regardless, foreign language.
A husband that's a hamster.
A hamster who can talk. Then they have Girl Scouts just coming all up in there. And they have a black father. Like, that family's all over the place.
It is. But maybe that's the point.
Maybe that is the point. The symbolism of everyone being included in those. But, you know, I'm just going to stop there.
Yeah, I'm just going to stop there. And I really got to know, you know, what's the last ship about? And,
TNT's the last ship. Needs to just stop.
Yeah. I don't really know what it's about.
I don't know what it's about.
I've seen the trailer at least a half dozen times. Like more than a half dozen. I think at
Way
least
more
100.
than that.
At least 100 times. Still don't know what it's about.
And then the one saving grace though is definitely Blake Griffin's commercials.
Well, yeah. But even still.
Blake Griffin's commercials are on point.
They're beautiful.
Yeah.
Even still, I don't know. I feel like. But anyways, so yeah, that's what we've struggled with a lot this week. A lot of basketball. We watched every game just about this week.
Mm-hmm.
The only games that we didn't watch were on Wednesday night.
We had the AP test
on
for
Thursday.
AP World History.
Yeah. Which
wash my hands of that one right there.
Yeah, I'm all done there.
But yeah. So let's get into the what was our next talking point? Oh wait, real quick. I think we wanted to address again, like we were talking about just now. We couldn't watch Wednesday's games because of our schedule, and I think the thing that we learned most about this week, Jesus,
I'm a mess.
was the movement of schedules. So like instead of us waking up at what 6 or 7 to go to school, we're waking up 10, 11, and we're going to bed around 2 or 3 after games and stuff like that. After kind of debriefing games and talking about it and whatnot. I think that was the biggest challenge for me.
Me too.
And yeah, just like the movement of schedules. So we're getting up at 11. We're eating lunch or breakfast, I guess. At
brunch.
Brunch.
We're gentlemen. We eat brunch.
We eat brunch, and then we're going from there. I'm going to practice at 2:30.
I'm going to do something at 2. I mean, I could go to practice. I could just sit at home and take a nap.
That frisbee life.
Yeah, that frisbee life. I mean, really. That's what we're here. That frisbee life.
And so from practice, I'm usually going home, getting a shower, and coming here.
Thank God.
Yeah. There was one day I didn't though.
There was like 4 days where you didn't. It was disgusting.
You know,
your general lack of hygiene.
I'm scared for college.
Yeah, your roommates. Your roommates do.
But then we come here, eat lunch, dinner. I'm sorry. And then we'd get into games, and we wouldn't go to bed until 2 or 3. And my body at least took a while to get adjusted to that schedule.
Yeah, mine's still kind of adjusting. Like I was like always the first person to go to bed. I was beat.
Yeah, but now I'm having a hard time. Like on the weekends, like today is Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Saturday.
I had a track meet. I was dead after that, but I couldn't fall asleep because it was 10 o'clock. Like, I was assuming that I'd be up for another 4 hours. So, like, I didn't get to go to bed until, like, 2:30 because my body just wouldn't let me. And I think that was another thing that I felt was not detrimental to, like, anything here, but just, like, it's just a definite change.
Yeah,
that I'll have to, like, especially moving forward into college, if I'm going to start staying up late studying or whatever, or, like, getting work done, I'm going to have to take that into consideration. Like, is it worth staying up every night, or do I need to, like, plan my days better? Like, we can't plan our days around basketball because basketball doesn't end until 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, that's just a given. But, like, next year, we have to figure out what our own time is going to be, because we're going to be the bosses of that. So.
Yeah. The other thing I have to point out is we're losing production value right now.
Ooh,
the music has stopped. We've decided to spice things up a little bit rather than just kind of listen to us drone on. Throwing a little music, see if that can bring in a couple more than our 53 viewers. Shout out to anybody who watched it. Thank you for that. Really, that was a big ego boost. We really only expected like maybe 4 views.
Our moms.
Maybe us checking a couple times.
Yeah. Although you'll be fair, I only watched it like once.
I only watched it like once, but when I would go to like check and it would like play, so that probably added a couple. And there's probably a couple people there who was like, "Damn it, I didn't want to click on that."
Yeah.
And then, but you know, whatever. At least we got
53 views or 53 views.
53 views, and I mean, yeah.
We earned it, dude.
Yeah, we earned it. Absolutely. That was the worst high five.
That was the worst high five.
I was not looking, so that made that awful. So, on that note, speaking of worst high fives, let's talk about the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
They are the worst high five of the NBA. But, still, pretty solid basketball being played. Better than I could play.
Mm-hmm. So, do you want me to go into that?
Well, yeah, let's just talk broad spectrum for a minute. And
alright.
Just, like, I mean, I think, well, let's talk about the losers first. We'll start with losers, go to winners, talk about the next series.
Okay. So, alright, so the Heat knocked off the Brooklyn Nets in 5 games.
Mm-hmm.
The Pacers knocked off the Wizards in 6 games. So, watching those, we watched those series pretty intently.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't the closest. Well, they kind of were. They were kind of like the closest in like...
Pacers, Wizards more so, I felt like.
There was just a lot more drama with the highs and lows of both teams. But, so, we'll start with the Wizards. So, I think the Wizards, as we were watching them, they had, like, they just played with a ferocity. Like, they looked like when they were playing their best basketball, they were looking scary. Like, the Pacers were always reacting to what they were doing. They weren't attacking them. They were getting beat up inside by Gortat and Nene. Trevor Ariza was all over the place.
Yeah.
Defensively and also putting up a lot of 3-point shots. Bradley Beal was... he's going to be a player when he develops. Like,
absolutely.
I think he's in a really good, like, cocoon almost of a team. He's looked to as a shooter and a ball, like a secondary ball handler. So, but there's not like, I feel like they've given him enough responsibility, but like not too much. John Wall's the primary ball handler. He's the one who's going to pass, get assists the most. He's going to get you buckets when you need it. And Bradley Beal's looked to just kind of just go out and play your hardest and you're good.
And the point that you bring up with Bradley Beal and that he's developing, I feel like that's like the general theme of the Wizards. Because like when you were talking about the ferocity with which they played, I also felt like as the series progressed, when they would be down, they lost that ferocity. And you would see just like through general like body language, which I know you hate that phrase, but like you could kind of tell that the Wizards were like, oh man, we're down. And I feel like as a team that's maturing, and now that they have that experience, they're going to come out and be like, all right, we're down, but we're going to come back. We're going to give the ball to Beal. We're going to give it to Ariza. They're going to get that like that 3 that we need. And that's another thing too is that like they just didn't have a lot of veteranship. I felt like.
I think one of the stats that we heard was they haven't gone to the Eastern Conference Finals since 1979, so they haven't won a second round playoff series since 1979 when they were the Washington Bullets. And another thing too, as you talk about experience, that inexperience in the playoffs. Trevor Ariza was the only one who had been really experienced.
He went to
in
the
playoffs.
finals.
Yeah, he went to the
Dwight
finals.
Howard.
But that experience of being there is what gives you a kind of even mindset of, oh, if we're down by a lot, let's chip away at it.
Mm-hmm.
When we watched the series clinching game, they were down by 10, 14.
Oh, no, they were
half.
down by like 16.
At the half.
Yeah.
They brought it down to like 4 with like 8 minutes to go in the fourth, and then they didn't have that experience to just, all right, let's not try to go for that knockout punch. Let's just keep scoring and get defensive stops. They tried going for big threes. They tried going for wild. They did go up at one point, and then the experience of the Pacers kind of got them like, oh, like you can make big shots, but we're just gonna keep putting the ball in the bucket. Like we're just gonna keep scoring. And the Wizards, I don't think they had enough experience and like presence of mind to just weather the mini storms. People talk all the time about weathering the storm. So teams will go on big runs, but like you need to have that confidence to keep scoring and to finish. I don't think they just didn't have that finishing.
Yeah.
They put themselves in a position to, which give them credit for that. And moving forward, that will help them tremendously in the years to come.
So our conclusion is what the Wizards need is what they've gotten already. They've gotten that kind of veteran leadership. They've gotten kind of a little bit more mature. I'd also say put another couple of people on the bench. Maybe even their bench, wasn't bad, but I feel like if you got like a more high octane scorer on your bench, that kind of just could provide a little bit more fuel.
Yeah, I mean they had really good inside play with Gortat and Nene.
Mm-hmm.
They had Trevor Ariza was really good in the series. He was rebounding for them. He had like 55 rebounds in the series. He was pretty good at shutting down Paul George.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get into him later, but he scored pretty well for them. He was pretty good from the three, and that's what they needed him to do. And then their two guards, Beal and Wall, were really good. Wall led the team in assists with 44, and the series, everyone with 44. And Bradley Beal led them in points.
And all I'm saying is, those were all their starters. So you get somebody to come off the bench who could give you at least like 14 points. And
I'll give you the stats here. Bradley Beal, who's a second-year player, right?
Yep.
Second-year player, led the team in minutes, field goal attempts, free throw attempts, three-point attempts, and was first in steals and points. So when I look at those stats, I see in the field goal attempts, like he's looking for his shot. He's not looking to assist, which John Wall's that's his responsibility. When I look at the free throw, when he has the most free throw attempts, that tells me he's getting the line because he's being aggressive, and that's what they need. Like you need players to just not only like shoot, because I think that's what John Wall kind of ran into. He wasn't aggressive enough to go to the bucket all the time, and
so he'd take the jump shot.
Yeah, he'd take the jump shot, and his field goal percentage went down. But Bradley Beal got to the line a lot, and then shooting three. So he was a very diverse player. So he's getting to the rim, he's shooting that mid-range jump shot off of pick and rolls, and he's also shooting the three in transition, which I liked. And then first in steals, he's being active on defense, and that's what you need from your second best player.
Yeah.
Moving forward, if he keeps up this kind of production. And then he's also playing the most minutes. He's playing 40 minutes a game almost.
Yeah.
Like that's just youthfulness too, though. Yeah. But I mean, if he's keeping up that production, he's going to be a player when he gets going. And then we're going to talk about Brooklyn.
Yeah, let's talk about Brooklyn. They need, their
Walkers,
biggest
maybe.
What?
Walkers?
Yeah, Walkers. Yeah, they need some Walkers.
They're old, son.
And they've got some interesting young talent. I'm curious to see where Mason Plumlee goes. He just kind of disappeared in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And so like if they just need to be younger. I mean, and they're kind of for the team that they were and were supposed to be, and how much money was put into them, I don't know. I feel like they kind of underachieved.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's a future. You know, a lot of uncertainty whether Pierce stays or retires or goes. I'm hearing Clippers.
Paul Pierce, for his age and his position, I feel like he did a pretty good job.
And
he was. We watched him dunk twice in a game. I don't think he did that in the entire last season of his
he couldn't jump.
Celtics career.
But with Paul Pierce, he had to carry that team. He was not brought in to carry the team.
Yeah.
That's what Darren Williams was there for. And I mean, Brook Lopez was also there for that, but you know, you can't. He was hurt.
Injured. Yeah.
Darren Williams, although he's going to get ankle surgery, which big surprise there. But I feel like I've heard, just rumblings that there's talk about maybe Williams being traded. Just kind of like rumors, probably media rumors that generated just to kind of sell some articles. But still, he's like $101 million point guard.
Yeah.
And he went scoreless in one of the games.
Against Mario Chalmers and Norris Cole.
Yeah, you can't have that in your point guard.
Yeah.
You can't. And so when you have somebody like Paul Pierce, who, he's a good player, he's a great player, but he's just too old to put the team on his back.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Johnson was...
Oh, Joe Johnson was being guarded by LeBron.
Yeah.
So...
And guarding LeBron.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can't ask him to do all of the things. I think also, too, kind of just the what if. If they had Brook Lopez, that series would have been a lot different.
Oh,
KG
absolutely.
wouldn't have been playing as many minutes. Blotch wouldn't have been playing as many minutes. Although Blanche, I don't know what his name is. All the ESPN announcers did it differently, too, so it's whatever. But, I mean, he was putting in good minutes a few games, but, they just didn't have the inside weapons that would take down the Heat.
Yeah.
The one game they did win was because they were getting inside play from their bigs, which led to that Televich
Yep.
shooting threes.
Yeah.
He was hot.
Yeah, no, and so I guess our final conclusion on the Nets, be a little bit younger, just
Better point guard play.
Better point guard play too. And just a healthy Brook Lopez, I think would make a lot of difference.
That's what happens with an older team, though. They get hurt.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, Brook Lopez isn't really that old, but he's had a history with that type of injury. So.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the winners.
All right.
Let's start with the Heat, and then we'll go because I know you did more of an in-depth analysis on the Pacers. But the Heat, obviously.
LeBron James, best player in the game.
Yeah, you can't really get much better than that. There's not.
I actually did a little bit of statistics digging here. He's shooting around 50% from the field. He's shooting 49 for 50 or 89 for 49 for 81 or something like that.
Over the course of the series.
Yeah. So I mean, he's being really efficient with his scoring, and he's also shooting 80% from the line. He's shooting about 55 field goal attempts in that series.
But he's shooting
free throw attempts.
But he's shooting all the free throws.
Yeah, he's shooting 30 more free throws than anybody on that team.
Yeah. So, but I mean, obviously, there's not much to talk about with the Heat. The Heat, I mean, I don't know. They're the Heat. They're the Miami Heat. They're obviously going to be a contender for the title. I'm interested.
2-time champions.
Yeah, 2-time champions.
4-time MVP. 3 perennial All-Stars.
Yeah, so I mean, they're just, and you got Ray Allen, who's getting some. He isn't necessarily racking up points, but the points that he's making are significant.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious to see what the Pacers do against them.
All right, so I'm going to talk about the Pacers. So I kind of went into depth on a few players and then some things that need to happen. First of all, I want to talk about David West. David West had one of the best performances of that series.
He definitely silently carried that series.
Yeah.
It wasn't Paul George. It wasn't Roy Hibbert. Like David West was the one that was putting in all the work. He was getting rebounds.
He was doing that dirty work. He was doing that. He was getting those hard 14 points a game. He was getting those important rebounds. He's making plays when he need to.
In that final game too, he was like pivotal.
Yeah.
Like, his jump shot was on fire.
29 points.
Yeah.
I mean, and you can't leave an NBA player open from 18 feet.
No.
You can't do it. They will make buckets. Like, and once you see the ball go through the net a few times, you know your jump shot's on. It's gonna be hard to stop you, especially with the confidence that David West plays with. So he was second on the Pacers team in points. So like we said, Paul George was number 1, but
his shots selection scares me.
Yeah.
Like, I just feel like he takes a lot of like fadeaway ugly jumpers.
Yeah.
When he could pass the ball and like
or take it to the hole and get fouled.
Yeah.
And you're a rising superstar. You're gonna get some calls. Like, take it to the hole.
So I mean, I just feel like his shot selection, and I also feel like he's kind of like in his own head, and he's like, oh, I gotta be the man. Like, everybody's counting on me, so I gotta take the ball, I gotta take all the shots. And it's like, I feel like with that Pacers team, he doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
If they could move the ball around a lot better, I think that would really kind of contribute and help them out.
Yeah. All right. So again, to David West, he's second in points, second in rebounds, second in assists, which again, kind of scary. I mean, you think your 2 guards would be number 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. Paul George would be number 3, trying to get people better, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. He's third in free throw attempts, so he's getting to the line a lot, and he's second in minutes, so he's playing most of the games too. To your point about Paul George, he needs to be Paul George. He needs to be the second best player in the Eastern Conference, and he's not playing like it. He's let me get here. He's 36 for 91 in field goal attempts. So he's shooting
like 30%.
Yeah, he's shooting about 33%, which is not good.
No.
Like, if you want to advance to the NBA Finals, you need to be the best player of the series and have the best team. And he's not going to do anything for his team if he's shooting 33%. LeBron James is going to be guarding him, so you're going to get a lot better defense than Trevor Ariza was giving you.
Yeah.
And
bigger too. I mean, Trevor Ariza is a little bit. I mean,
like, you could play against Trevor Ariza and be the stronger player.
Yeah.
LeBron James is going to not let you drive the hole around him. You're going to have to find ways to score other than posting up. And but this is the other thing though. He's 32 from 38 from the free throw line. So when he gets to the line, he's money. So you need to draw fouls. That you need to be shooting as many free throws as LeBron James, because as a team, actually, the Pacers are about 73% from the line, and they're shooting a lot of free throws. So I mean, if you put in that kind of work and effort and get to the line, it's going to pay dividends, because again, it's a free throw. It's just you on the line, and they've proven that they can make shots. Mm-hmm. The one thing that also scares me too is he's got 15 turnovers. I think he was second on the team in turnovers. So he needs to not play so sloppy. Like, you're the second best player in the East. You need to, 1, make good decisions, 2, take good shots, and 3, try to make your teammates better.
Yeah.
The one thing though that, again, like we talked about, he's a two-way player. He was first in the team in steals, and he's up there in fouls. So I mean, I'll live with that, because you're playing the most minutes, and you're staying in the game. You haven't fouled out, and it means you're aggressive on defense. So I'm not too worried about fouls. And then I think, like we were talking about with the Brooklyn Nets, they're not getting very good point guard play from George Hill. George Hill's got a turnover ratio of 18-10, and assists, and he's second in steals, where he should be first. He's guarding the primary ball handler for a team. Like, you need to be up in people's into their grills and stuff like that. I think he's fourth on the team in scoring, and You just need to not make as many turnovers. You need to make your teammates better and look to facilitate as opposed to score.
Yeah, and like you said, he's fourth in scoring. I was gonna say, that's fine as a point guard, but he has 10 assists for the entire series, correct?
No,
Or 10,
18.
18 for the entire series. So,
yeah, that's 3 assists a game.
Yeah.
You're a point guard. You need to facilitate. So then we're gonna move inside. So Roy Hibbert. Woo! Jeez.
Everybody talks about Roy Hibbert. Let's talk about Roy Hibbert.
Well, let's talk about Roy Hibbert. So
we'll talk about him.
He's 7 feet 2 inches tall. That's a big man.
That's a very big man.
We actually looked this up.
Well, let's see.
He's 4.
I'm roughly 6, so he's another foot. I mean,
He's taller than this room.
Yeah. And he'd have to
and
bend
he's
over.
he's 40 pounds bigger than anybody on the Wizards team. Okay. So he was 3rd on the team in rebounds as 7'2".
Mm-hmm. You can't have that.
You can't. You need to be owning the paint.
Here's the thing that I think would help him. His feet. He doesn't move his feet.
Yeah.
He's gotta, he does, but he doesn't, if he moved his feet more and got better positioning, he'd have less fouls, and he'd have a lot better rebounding, percentage.
Yeah.
I mean, he had 2 dunks last game too?
Yeah.
And I love those. They were nice power. I loved watching him play last game because it seemed like he was engaged, ready to be there, ready to play hard.
On both ends of the floor.
On both ends of the floor.
Yeah. So I think to your point about fouls, I'm not gonna say I could live with his fouls, his foul number, but he is a shot blocker, so he's going to get up in people's faces, and he's gonna draw. He's gonna get fouls because he is a shot blocker.
And because I feel like because he's bigger, he's gonna get the call.
Yeah. He's got 13 blocks in this series that he just played in. So that's 2 a game. He's 5th in shots taken. You are 7'2". You're going to be the most imposing player on the floor in the next series. You need to be posting up on Chris Anderson and taking it to him.
But he can take Chris, he can just, stick his ass out, dribble, and just basically back Chris Anderson to the hoop. He can pull a Shaq, stick
we watched him
dribble, turn around, dunk.
We were watching that last game, and he had the jump shot, and he had his little flip hook
thing.
The little
reverse.
I don't know what that is, but it seems to work for him.
It was pretty.
It is pretty. And he was doing that against Marcin Gortat, who's taller than Chris Anderson.
More skilled.
Yeah, more skilled. I think Chris Anderson's a little bit more mobile. Mm-hmm. But he's an energy guy, so and I think the thing that we also watch, as we were watching the Heat games, he doesn't really play defense man-to-man. He kind of is just moving around, following the ball. So as the ball moves, he's moving to there, and then moving back, and then waiting for the ball to come into the paint for that weak side block. Not necessarily when he's guarding somebody. So Roy Hibbert just needs to get there and back him up. He's shooting over 50% from the field. So he's being pretty efficient when he gets the ball, but he just needs to get the ball.
And the thing that kind of concerns me though is if for some reason Hibbert ends up on Bosch, because they had that problem in Atlanta with Para-Antic, because Bosch can shoot 3, so Hibbert has to come out of place and play on the wing. So that's the only thing that could concern me.
Either that or David West playing him. David West isn't as mobile as Chris Bosch. But again, when they played them last year, Chris Bosch wanted nothing to do with the paint.
Yeah, no.
Nothing to do with it.
Because it's scary. I wouldn't want to go in there against David West and Hibbert. That's scary.
Yeah. But last year...
They're scary dudes.
Last year, Hibbert was I'm going to rip your head off if you come in the paint. This year, I'm not totally convinced about his commitment to being that scary, imposing person in the paint.
He had me, the last...
As the series progressed, he's gotten better at it, but there's still that, up and down that I'm not liking as much.
And so that Game 6 gave me kind of hope. He had, 4 blocks in that game, wasn't it? And, he had 4 blocks and, 18 points? 20? How many?
I think he had 14.
14? Okay. Well, a little bit less. But still, he was playing with tenacity. He was playing hard ball. and it looked like he was like, fully focused. Like the last couple times you've watched him, it looks like his mind's elsewhere. He's not really playing the game.
Yeah.
And this, he was like into it. He's getting pumped, he's clapping, he's stomping. And so if he can play with that throughout the entire Heat series, which I'm really hoping he does, because that'll just make that series that much better. I'll be very excited to see where they go.
The other thing is, though, moving forward to the next series with the Heat, all these guys, looking at their rebounding statistics, and then looking at the Heat don't get offensive rebounds. The Heat in the last series got like 6 or 7 offensive rebounds the whole series.
They're about the fast break.
Yeah.
They just hustle down.
Yeah. So they're all about stealing. They're not about offensive rebounds. So I think that's the one thing that will help Roy Hibbert. He won't have to be there aren't going to be as many people going over his back. Chris Bosh isn't going to be not going to be in the paint.
No.
Chris Anderson, he's going to maybe get a couple of offensive rebounds, but not enough to scare anybody.
No. Plus Hibbert can just box him out.
Yeah.
Nene and Gortat are bigger than Anderson.
Yeah.
So I mean,
plus have more offensive awareness to go up and get the ball. So yeah, I think that's another thing. The only thing would be you just need to stay out of foul trouble, because as long as
against the Heat though.
Yeah, if you're on the floor.
Because if LeBron drives into the paint, and even if Hibbert goes straight up, LeBron he's still gonna get called. Yeah. Especially if Joe Crawford's officiating.
Yeah. So you need to stay out of foul trouble, but keep up your block stuff. And so I think moving forward, to help them, they need to be more physical on offense. They need to get to the free throw line more. All of their players have the offensive skill to blow by their defender and get to the rim, and draw fouls. So I think they need to do a better job of that. And then I expect Hibbert will do better at rebounding. So that's kind of the Pacers and where they're at. And so do you want to move into the Western Conference?
Why don't you just give us kind of your thoughts on
how the series will go?
Yeah, on how next series.
All right, so I think Paul George is going to rise to the challenge. I think this series
he's been playing all season for this challenge.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see that.
Yeah.
Because I think he's like, I want to prove that I can stop LeBron and score on LeBron.
Yeah, I think we watched him, and he became invisible in times because he was playing against Trevor Ariza. I mean,
in Indiana, I just feel like, maybe it's just like I just want it to be, but Indiana's been playing all year for this moment. This is what they came off of last year, all summer. We're gonna beat the Heat. Gonna get Game 7 at home. And I feel like it's gonna be a 7-game series. Because LeBron's gonna have his one game where he goes for 50.
Yeah.
He's gonna have that game. He's gonna get pissed and he's gonna go for 50.
That's another thing we saw when in the Brooklyn series. At points, nobody on their team could score. Dwayne Wade wasn't able to score very well. Chris Bosh wasn't scoring very well, and so it was kind of just on him to score, and that's why he had his 50-point game, because if he passed it to anyone else, they're not going to score. And it's just going to come back to him, and he has to put it up. But looking at the matchups, George Hill, Chalmers, that's going to be kind of even, which is not good for the Indiana Pacers.
A lot of those matches are even. Really, I'm actually, you know what matchup I'm kind of excited for is Dwayne Wade and Lance Stevenson.
Lance Stevenson's gonna take it to him. Lance will make him dance.
Yeah, but
oh my god, I love Lance Stevenson. He's a beast.
But I don't know if Lance can play. I feel like Lance can play solid enough defense. No,
Lance is gonna play tenacious defense. He was getting steals. He's getting defensive rebounds, offensive rebounds. He's second on the team in assists. Or first, maybe. I think he's first on the team in assists. And he's, I think, third on the team in scoring. So he's not a big scorer, volume scorer, but he's just gonna make Dwayne Wade work really, really hard.
So the Lance, Dwayne Wade, and then I'm going Hibbert versus everybody. I'm going Hibbert versus everybody. because LeBron is obviously going to want to try Hibbert. I mean, LeBron's a competitor. That's what he's going to want to do. So he's going to drive to the paint, and I'm just excited to see, Hibbert.
How he's going to deal with it.
Yeah, how he's going to deal with that. I feel like Hibbert versus Chris Anderson, not going to be much of a battle unless if Hibbert, plays like he was in the first couple Washington games. So, I mean, I'm just seeing Hibbert versus everybody. I'm rooting for him. I really want him to do well. I think he's a phenomenal talent. I just don't want to, I don't know what I want to say there, but...
Yeah. I don't know. I think also Chris Bosh and David West, two very different players. Chris Bosh going towards the more modern, like everybody can shoot threes, everybody can go inside, kind of European style, and then the kind of 1990s power forward who
don't want to mess with.
Hits you in the mouth and then dunks on, or he can't dunk at this point, but like hook shots over you.
Yeah, he shoots over you.
Mid-range game.
And how he gets his shot, is he puts his shoulder, he muscles you out,
yeah.
and then he, pops one up.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be just a definite fast-paced offensive team, defensive trapping team, to a a mano-a-mano defensive game plan, and just a grinding defensive team in the Pacers. So we'll see how this goes in the next series. When does that start? Sunday?
Yes.
Tomorrow?
That one's tomorrow. That one's tomorrow, and then the Western Conference.
That's
which I'm about to delve into is on Monday.
Dude, face the camera.
Oh yeah. Well, no, we're making a conversation.
Well, I know, but at the same time, we don't want to look at the side of your head the whole day.
Fair enough. So, let's see. Let's break down I dove kind of more into the Thunder's statistics versus the LA Clippers. Kind of talk about first Durant's 39-point game at the end of the series and the game-clinching series. Obviously showed that he's going to put the team on his back. He's going to carry them.
Be the MVP.
He'd be the MVP. The thing that kind of made me nervous is he's playing about 44 minutes a game. That's a lot. Like, there wasn't anybody else. Let me see if I got it right here. There wasn't anybody else who was playing, as many minutes as he was. I mean, he's the MVP. He's a young player, so obviously he can do that. But it still kind of makes me nervous. He went 12 for 23. From field goal range, so that's pretty solid numbers. It's a little under half. He went 5 for 8 from 3, which we all know he hit those 5 3-pointers in a row there before half. And so I thought, obviously that's what you want to see out of an MVP player.
Yeah.
What scared me is Russell Westbrook had 19 points, and he was the second highest scorer. There was nobody beyond it. It was like him. It was like Durant and then Westbrook, and
they combined for 370 points on that team.
Yeah, well,
in the series.
Yeah, I'll get into that. But so that kind of made me nervous. But what also made me nervous was the fact that Westbrook was 4 for 15. Now, granted, he was 10 for 11 from free throw, but it still made me nervous that he's only going 4 for 15, and I realized that he has off nights. But at the same time, I don't know, I feel like some of his shot selections were poor there.
Yeah.
But overall in the series, there's two things that I kind of noticed. One was the Thunder's defense. I was looking it up, and their defense dropped off, it seemed to me, at least, when I was looking at the very bare-bones statistics. Because of the season, they had 8.3 steals per game, and then during this series, they had only 5.7, or during the entire playoffs, excuse me. And then they had 6.1 blocks per game, and they were only working with five blocks a game. So that kind of dropped off. That makes me a little nervous, just defensively. They're getting, over the playoffs, they're getting 107.2 points per game. But those points are coming pretty much solely from Durant and Westbrook. Durant has 199 points per game while playing...
No. Had 199 points in the series.
In the series, I'm sorry. While playing 255 minutes. And Westbrook had 167 points while playing 229 minutes.
Yeah.
And so the next closest was Ibaka, who was playing 178 minutes, and he was getting 68 points per game. But he's gone now. He's out for the playoffs with a calf injury. And so the people who, his backups, who were counting as Steven Adams, Caron Butler, and Nick Collison, in total have scored 73 points throughout the series. And so that kind of makes, like, they only scored like 5 more points than he did by himself.
Yeah.
And so they're going to definitely lose a lot of production there. So
and the other thing too is also Caron Butler is like, he's not a power forward. That's not his position. He plays shooting guard or small forward, but when KD's on the floor, he's playing shooting guard. But when you move him, when he comes off the bench and plays with and without Serge Ibaka, he's gonna play 3, and KD's gonna have to play 4. So they're gonna have to play small ball.
Mm-hmm.
And in the next series, he's gonna have to play against, I want to say, Kawhi Leonard maybe.
Yeah.
Like Kawhi Leonard's gonna be able to muscle hit, like just straight up guard him. I don't know how effective he's gonna be. And then Stevenson's a rookie, right? Or is he
Steven Adams.
Steven Adams.
Yeah, just Steven, not Stevenson.
Oh yeah. So Steven Adams, is he?
He's a rookie.
Yeah, he's a rookie. So I don't think you can ask too much of him, since he is a rookie and he hasn't been playing that long either, like basketball in general.
No.
And then Collison isn't a scorer. He's a big guy who gets in there and gets you rebounds and steals and stuff like that, but not so much a scorer. So.
Actually, he only had 12 rebounds throughout the series. Although he was only playing...
He wasn't playing that many minutes.
Yeah,
though.
he played like 53 minutes, 54.
Yeah.
And then... so, I mean, I think the Thunder mostly... I don't know. They just... There's not a lot of distributing, not a lot of sharing of points. And I feel like that's because there aren't a lot of, like, solid scorers. Like, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, time-tested scorers.
Yeah.
Reggie Jackson is their 4th in scoring with 54 points. And I don't know, if it's me, I don't know if I necessarily want to rely on Reggie Jackson to be getting the 3rd most points on the team.
Yeah.
And the other thing we forgot to talk about, because I just jumped right into this, but the losers one of the losers, I shouldn't really say losers, I guess, but the Clippers, let's just talk about them real quick. Chris Paul, as we all know, one of the best, top 10 easily. He had 135 points throughout the series, 72 assists, and that was 30 more than anybody else on his team. But I feel like that's what you want.
Yeah.
And Blake scored more points than him. Blake scored 143, but to me that doesn't matter. I feel like Paul should be able to be the distributor and still get you those points.
Yeah. And
he shouldn't have to do both. And so I like that Blake's coming up. I thought he really improved his game. His jump shot, as we commented on, is ugly.
It's weird.
But it goes in. Yeah, exactly.
I think another thing too though is like when we watched them play, there would be 3.5 quarters of just like solid offensive execution. Buckets all over the place. Threes, mid-range, free throws, dunks.
Mm-hmm.
Blake Griffin through 3.5 quarters is usually their main scorer. Like you said, that's good. That's what you need from Blake. He's an all-star.
Mm-hmm.
But I think part of the reason that they didn't close out games like they should have was they didn't have those high octane scorers that could just come in. Jamal Crawford was there, but he was kind of like more like getting them back into games as opposed to like trying to win them.
Yeah.
So I think Chris Paul, I'm not sure gonna say he needed to score more, but
there was somebody who needed to score more.
Yeah, they just needed another scorer to put in good minutes before the end of the game.
And the other person that needed to score, though, I felt like DeAndre, he wasn't effective enough on offense.
No.
His defense was still pretty good. But, I mean, I don't know. I felt like he was going to do better against against the Thunder's big men. Like, Kendrick Perkins, Steven Adams, a rookie. I just thought I wanted more out of him. And maybe they didn't work hard enough to get him the ball. But I just felt like he'd get into foul trouble, and then
Yeah, the last game he got 5 fouls, 0 points.
No, it was 2 games ago, I'm pretty sure. It's 2 games ago, wasn't it? Pretty sure it was 2 games ago that happened. But
right. Anyway, still, if you're scoring 0 points as a center who led the league in field goal percentage during the season, come on.
Yeah, and so, I mean, I just wanted a little bit more. But basically, I think the Clippers are pretty much set for another run. I think if it were me, I'd get rid of Danny Granger, Glenn Davis, try and add a couple other people onto that bench that could score besides Jamal Crawford. Obviously the Donald Sterling issue is going to be, I feel like it definitely affected them, and so with that in the past, I think that they'll be a much better team. And then let's talk briefly just Spurs Trailblazers. Like I said earlier, it was kind of like a men versus boys thing. The Trailblazers, like we talked last time, Tim Duncan had as many playoff games under his belt as like the entire Blazers franchise. So I think, it's just kind of, whenever we watch them, especially in the first couple games, they get that, like, deer in the headlights kind of look and, like, oh, God, the Spurs are beating us by 20, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
And so I think just with a little bit more maturity, they're going to be a better team. I don't know. I feel like I keep harping on benches, but I feel like their bench could use a touch bit of work, too.
Yeah,
especially because Mo Williams went down.
Yeah, no, their starting 5 was basically who was scoring on that team.
Yeah.
Wesley Matthews was scoring. Aldridge was getting shut down. Lillard was getting shut down.
They're just playing better. Like, Jeremy Lin is not going to play the same type of defense that Tony Parker is.
Yeah.
Dwight Howard, Amir Ashik are not going to play defense like Tim Duncan does.
And I think also, like, the Spurs have been together and under the tutelage of Pop for so long that you just, like, learn how to play defense as a group, as a unit, and nothing really phases you. So I think what the Trailblazers need to do is probably... I think they need to shy away from the ISO kind of offense that they were running. There was a lot of just give it to Aldridge and see what he can do. A lot of Lillard driving in, trying to find something and not really finding anything. And then the pick and rolls weren't really working because, again, Timmy D and Splitter were inside, and then Parker and Kawhi Leonard are running people off pick and rolls like no one's business.
Kawhi Leonard is like...
It's really hard to pick and roll on that team.
Kawhi Leonard is quickly becoming one of my favorite players. He just, all around, just a great player, and the way he carries himself. It's the way the entire Spurs team carries himself, there's nobody flashy there.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the presence of Tim Duncan and Popovich, is they're like, you know what, we're gonna put our nose to the grindstone, we're gonna play our game.
Yeah.
We're not gonna, no bells and whistles.
We're not gonna thump our chest because we won a game, because that should
We're not gonna hop up on the scoreboard or the scores table and yell at the fans, and we're just gonna win.
You're gonna play basketball, you're gonna win, and then come playoff time, you're gonna play 2.5 quarters and then rest the legs.
Yeah.
And let the bench do the rest.
Put the ice on the knees.
Yeah. Their bench is so good.
So good.
Scoring like 50 points a game. Wow.
And so to segue into that, just kind of preview of Spurs Thunder.
I'm eating the rest of these.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough. I ate so much of it. I just hate myself now. The Spurs and the Thunder are actually on paper a lot closer than I had originally assumed. The Spurs are getting 108 points, 109 points per game. Thunder getting about 107. Rebounding about a 1 point difference, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
A one rebound difference with the Thunder over it, or the Thunder Wow. Okay. So I'm gonna retry that.
All right.
Okay. So rebounds: Spurs 44, Thunder 45, 46 rebounds per game. So as you can see, the Thunder have about like one more rebound per game. Assists: the Spurs have about one more assist per game. The startling fact to me was the Spurs have 10 steals per game. They have double what the Thunder have. The Thunder have
10 steals a game is ridiculous.
That's a large amount of steals. Plus, the Thunder have turnover problems.
Yeah.
And so if I'm the Thunder, that makes me nervous.
Like the Thunder and the Trailblazers, not the same team, but they play a similar style in that you've got your point guard who's just balls to the wall in Westbrook, and he's kind of like, and Damian Lillard kind of plays the same way, and then you can't really compare Kevin Durant and Aldridge, but like that's like your secondary, like he's the guy who just, you get him in an ISO situation and he puts up buckets. Like I feel like the game plan doesn't change all that much. Maybe matchup problems, just because I think Kawhi Leonard can maybe like play with Kevin Durant for a few games, but like you're gonna need somebody. You're gonna need to figure out how to like mask his height differential with somebody else.
Well, I mean, but Kevin Durant to me, or Kawhi Leonard on Kevin Durant to me, it's not. I feel like it'll be kind of like Tony Allen on Durant. I mean, Kawhi Leonard is a really good defender.
He did really well in the finals against LeBron, who's like bigger, but again, I think that release point of Durant's jump shot is going to be challenging for Kawhi, only because if he comes off picks and stuff like that and catching and shooting, Kawhi's not going to be able to get a hand up there to affect a shot. But in ISO, I think he'll do fine with at least keeping him from driving to the hole as much.
Yeah. And then just another kind of just breakdown on the Spurs. You have pretty equal play. The highest scorer was Tony Parker with 92 points, and San Antonio's big three together of Ginobili and Duncan and Parker. I'm really struggling today. Scored 204 points collectively. Durant scored 200 points by himself.
Yeah.
So I mean, you see a lot more of an equal distribution. Everybody's kind of getting touches, getting points. Kawhi Leonard had 85.
You also have to take in consideration they probably played the same amount of minutes as each other.
Mm-hmm. And Duncan was the highest with 161 minutes, and just for comparison, Durant had 255 minutes.
Yeah, so he's playing like 100 less minutes. So that's a lot. That's a lot of like rest and ability to stay productive on the floor.
And the thing too is like Durant can't play all game. All series. He can. So when the Thunder have to put in their bench,
it's not looking good.
Yeah, and the Spurs have to put in their bench, and you have people
like... The Spurs almost looked better when they put their bench in against the Trailblazers.
Yeah, let's see if I can pull that up.
Because you got Bellinelli coming off shooting threes, you got Danny Green coming off shooting threes, and you have Patty Mills, who's an aggressive point guard. Mm-hmm. Like that team looked more, not so much defensively, but they looked better offensively. I think Parker and all those boys do a better job defending, but when you put your bench in, they're just trying to score buckets on you, so that when the starters come back in, you just maintain the lead.
Yeah, like for example, Danny Green had 44 points, Boris Diaw had 44 points, Ginobili had 43, Patty Mills had 55. Bellinelli had 49. Bellinelli was shooting... Oh, wow, he was only... he was shooting 6 for 14 from 3-point range. So I mean, they're just like coming out and they're still getting as many points as the starters. You know, obviously a little bit less, but they're still getting a lot of points.
Quality minutes.
Quality minutes. Definitely quality minutes played. I'm looking at the stats though. The one thing that scares me, Danny Green is shot 8 for 24 from 3-point, and I feel like ever since he had that one game where he was shooting lights out, he's been doing that. And he's like, oh, I'll just, you know, I can take threes.
Yeah.
And, like, he can, obviously, and that's, like, his role. But just more consistency out there.
But I think he's going to get it, too, because the OKC, I don't know what they looked kind of vulnerable when you start putting up threes and start making them.
Yeah. And Chris Paul had that, like...
Chris Paul had an 8
threes.
3 game, and they won that game pretty handedly. Matt Barnes was making threes. When you make threes on that team, when you spread them out, that inside looks really vulnerable, especially now with Ibaka not being there.
That's another thing, too, is with Ibaka out, you lose... just such a large chunk of scoring. I mean, I know I talked that.
Chunk of scoring, rebounds,
blocks.
Blocks. You're losing that rim protection.
You're losing.
Tony Parker is probably like, let's go.
Yeah.
He was getting into the paint really easily in the Portland series, and so.
And I mean, even if like Perkins, you know, attempts like Tony Parker's just going to do his padded spin move. Perkins going to be, you know, shacked in a fool, just kind of standing there doing nothing.
Yeah.
And there's nobody to play defense against Tim Duncan. No. Who's going to play against Tim Duncan if Ibaka isn't?
Yeah. You're losing a lot of mobility in your bigs too. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. It's not looking good for the.
No, I mean, like I said, you know, the Thunder match up well on paper. They're missing Ibaka. They've been a little bit off shooting, I feel like, recently. You know, it's taken Durant.
The jump shot team though, you're gonna see those highs and lows.
Yeah, that's true.
They're gonna shoot one night, the next night they might not have it. They're gonna look not so good. So I mean,
I don't know if I see this. I don't know if I see this going into a 7-game series.
I don't think it is either. I think
I'm seeing
the
5.
Spurs are. I think 6.
6?
I think
yeah,
6.
I go 6. Yeah.
I think Kevin Durant MVP wills them to 2 games, but. I think another thing also that we didn't talk about that might play a role in this is officiating. In the game 5?
Yeah, that was a mess.
In game 5, the OKC, like, given like they're a good team, but like they got every single call that they could have gotten in that last 3 minutes of the game to win it.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, I don't know, like you don't want to say it, but sometimes it just seems like the officiating favors one team over another. But, you know, I think overall they do a decent job. I mean, you can only ask so much.
Yeah.
So.
I think, well, what I'm saying is,
I mean,
as opposed to like a superstar player
excuse me,
compared to a superstar team, or a super, they don't have a superstar, they just have like a really, really good team. I think the officiating is going to lean more towards the superstar player.
Yeah.
So that's something to look at.
I feel like you have a superstar coach in Greg Popovich.
Yeah.
And that superstar coach is going to find a way to shut down that superstar player.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing, too, is there's just such a stark difference between Popovich and Scott Brooks. I mean,
Scott Brooks is not doing a good job coaching.
No.
Like, when we were watching games, it was like a pick and roll, like one pick and roll for Kevin Durant to get the ball and then make a play.
Yeah.
Or like a cut and then a drive to the basket from moving that help guard defender down to the baseline. So he would have like the whole thing and it would just be ISO. So I don't know how well that's going to work against the Spurs. The
Spurs move.
Yeah, the Spurs are really good at defensive rotations.
Mm-hmm. Very good at it.
Not only that, they're like also very good at like being up in passing lanes and having really active hands.
Obviously,
seeing that
10
in the 10
steals.
steals.
Yeah, 10 steals.
And if you make mistakes, they're going to capitalize on that. So, we'll just have to see how that goes.
Yeah. So 6 games sounds good to me.
Yeah.
I just think it's going to come down to the Spurs have a much better bench, much better coach, and a much better defense. And
you know what? Actually, I think I'm gonna say 5.
You say 5?
I said 6, not remembering that they lost Serge Ibaka.
That's true too.
I think he adds a lot to their team, even if he's not really necessarily scoring a lot. Like, he's the one shot blocker that like gets around.
Yeah.
Like, he's mobile. So I think it might go 5, just because the Spurs are just gonna be relentless.
And I firmly believe that the Spurs want that second chance in Miami.
Yeah, like they
and they want. They're gonna play hard for the first 5 games because they want days off.
Yeah.
They don't. That's the one thing that concerns me less so now. It concerned me a lot more with the Clippers just because they're, to me, a more high octane offense and they'd have you running up and down the floor. But with the Spurs and Tim Duncan and his age and his knees, Tony Parker and his hamstring, they want as much rest as possible. So they're gonna go kind of full throttle, try and kill you in those first 4 games and get as much rest as possible before the finals.
Yeah, I don't know. Tim Duncan, he's older, but like at the same time he's putting up 30 and 15 in games. So I mean, as much rest as you can get him, the better, because.
And he's still playing the most minutes too.
Yeah. So I mean, like, if you get him rest, he's gonna know how to use it, and he's gonna watch a lot of game film. They're gonna put so much preparation into this game. They've started 30 different lineups during the series or during the season. So I think Pop knows what he wants to do when he gets that matchup. So, yeah.
So let's see, who do you have going to the finals?
I have Spurs going to the finals. Spurs winning the championship.
Who goes in the East though?
Miami.
Yeah, I'm seeing. I like the Spurs Miami.
I just don't think the Pacers have the consistency to play 7 games and be in it. I feel like there's going to be at least two games where they just get blown out, and there's going to be huge media hype, and I just don't think they respond to that. I don't think you can go 3 series in a row doing that sort of, like, playing that sort of basketball.
The only argument that I would say is, like, the Pacers were, on top, and I feel like that was what hindered them. They enjoyed being that underdog team, and when it comes to this series, now they are the underdog team.
Yeah.
Everybody's like,
I just hope they respond well to this challenge, because
I want to...
The teams they should have taken care of they looked like better. The other teams looked better than they did. Yeah. And I don't know. I really hope they just step up. I think it'll be a long, hard-fought series, but I don't think they have the. I just don't think they have the consistency to play at a high level against the Heat. I think the Heat will just kind of, like we were talking about the Spurs a little bit. They'll play a hard. They'll pick and choose their game. So if they're starting to lose by 20, they'll be like, nah, we'll get the next game. And then they'll come out and get that next game. Like, the Miami Heat have that kind of mindset where, like, ooh, we want to go do something, let's go achieve it. They achieve it, and then there you go.
And they've been there.
Yeah.
4 years in a row.
Yeah. And LeBron's been there, what?
He's been there many times.
He's been to the finals once without the Heat.
Yeah.
And he's also been, like, the primary, like, do everything in Cleveland. So I don't think this situation is new to him. And so I think Dwayne Wade needs to step up a little bit. Chalmers and Cole need to step up a little bit. Chris Bosh is right where he needs to be.
Chris Bosh is playing. But, I mean, and that's the other thing, too, is, like, LeBron, it's not like playing in Cleveland. I mean, yes, he is carrying the load, but he still has a lot better players around him. Yeah.
But, so, I just don't think he's going to... I don't think he's going to, like, really...
And, I mean, everybody talks about, superhuman and whatnot, but, I mean, he's got to be tired. At this point... He got to be pretty tired. He's been going...
He's playing the same amount of minutes since last year.
And he's been playing those minutes for 4 years, including the Olympics.
Yeah.
So...
we'll see how it goes.
So yeah, I think that about wraps it up this week.
Yeah.
We probably went on a lot longer than we meant to.
Mm-hmm.
Again.
No. We were supposed to keep these to like 10 minutes.
Yeah, that was our goal, was keeping the 10 minutes, but here we are. So basically, we'll be back next week. Hoping to go to the Hall of Fame. You know, not as a bust, but as visitors. And we'll be back with that next Saturday, and then we'll be done.
Yeah.
We'll be basically graduated.
Yeah. Two things though. I'm gonna be posting links up to Facebook again. We're gonna put stuff on social media networks so people can kind of like see this. We want a lot of people to kind of watch our thing, watch our podcast. So going into our presentation, they kind of know what we're doing, and kind of have seen like what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Because we want to pack the house then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're going to.
I mean, like
It's star power.
Yeah.
Basically.
I mean, we're the Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook of the high school.
Basically. Obviously, you know, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook. You take like the weird off-put shots. I'm like,
I'm go.
Yeah. So, anyways, bad analogies aside, thank you for watching if you have.
Yep.
Thank you for making it all the way to the end. Shout out to our 53 viewers again.
Hoping for more.
Yeah, maybe get some more.
Next week is going to be kind of our wrap up. It's going to be the overtime.
Yep,
Is that what we're calling it? Overtime. It's going to be kind of the culmination of what we've learned moving forward, what we're going to do with it, and kind of like the journey that we took.
Yep.
Maybe get into little mushy details. No.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Do it.
Well,
it's always a pleasure, sir.
Yeah. Not an awkward.
Not
an
the awkward thing again.
Yeah, that was
All right,
weird.
There we go.